Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Syrian English Education Forum. As you can see, we're here in the Benamadna Town Hall's recently renovated, superb new library in Arroyo de la Miel. Firstly, I'd like to thank Benamadna Town Hall for receiving us here, and we have here Presentación, what do we say, the mayor in functions. We'd like to wish the mayor, who is actually sick at the moment, a quick recovery, but we're very pleased to be here in Benamadna. I'd just like to remind people we're in our 40th anniversary celebrations. It's a wonderful moment. We have been their favourite read for more than 40 years on the Costa del Sol of the English-speaking community. I know a lot of people, Rachel and I here, we don't look a day over 30, but we've been doing this now for 40 years, not ourselves, but the newspaper. It's a wonderful time. We're actually going to, for the first time, offer a face-to-face seminar. We've been doing this annual webinar for a number of years now, but we felt that with the 40th anniversary celebrations, it would be a wonderful opportunity to welcome and hopefully our viewers will appreciate the different dynamics of people in the same room together and talking. I'd like to thank, obviously, as I said before, Benamadna Town Hall. I'd like to thank our panel of experts. We have from Sunnyview School, we have from the Marbella International University Centre, and we have from Phoenix College. I hope for all our viewers via syrianenglish.com, you'll find it interesting and also informative. And now I'd like to ask Priscilla Aguilera to come up and share a couple of words with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, esteemed guests, colleagues, and friends. It is both an honor and a pleasure to welcome you all today to this important Syrian English Forum International Education. It is a privilege to be here with so many distinguished professionals and experts in the field of education, all gathered to discuss the vital topics of building the foundations for a successful future for our students. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the significance of this venue. The Benamadna Library is not just a space for books, it is a cultural hub, a symbol of the commitment to learning and intellectual growth. Established in the 1980s, this library began with just a modest collection of around 100 books in English. Today, it holds more than 17,000 volumes in English, thanks to dedication and support of countless volunteers. The library's transformation into a cultural reference point, particularly for international communities, it is a testament to its role in fostering international intercultural exchange. In fact, the library has been officially recognized as an international library by the Junta de Andalucía, the regional government, since 2011. This collection serves not only to provide knowledge, but also to support the international residents and visitors who call this region home. The library's commitment to fostering global education is an important part of Benamadna's overall strategy for development. Education is a cornerstone of the local government's vision for progress, and it's through investment like this that we can create an environment where all the students, no matter the background, have the opportunity to succeed. The presence of this forum today is an example of our community dedication to education, an opportunity to engage with experts and to discuss how we can continue to improve and expand all opportunities for all. By focusing on international education, we can ensure that we are attracting and retaining global talent, nurturing your minds to become the leaders of tomorrow. This forum, particularly in this setting, highlights the important role that education plays in creating a welcoming, inclusive, and prosperous society. I'd like to take a moment to congratulate Syrian English on its 40th anniversary. This milestone is a testament to the lasting impact it has on the education sector, both locally and internationally. And we look forward to seeing the continued success of the initiative in this year to come. Now, let me outline the objective of today's forum, as far as I know. As we engage in a roundtable discussion, we will explore how schools integrate new students into their communities, how they support the growth and development of learners, and how we can create a framework that helps the student progress, succeed, and flourish through their educational journey. Well, I think this part will be better explained by Soren English, of course, but just once again, just would like to thank you for being all here. I look forward to the discussion will be really a success throughout the day. Thank you very much. Thank you, Soren English, for organizing this and choosing, of course, Benalmádena, choosing our library, our new, now the library is really modern. We have seen all the stuff here. They're really happy with it. So thank you very much for choosing us and have all the support from Benalmádena Town Council. Thank you very much.
I would now like Rachel Haynes, editor of Soren English, to come up on stage, and also the three participants, our panel of experts. You have to come this side, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Prissy. Thank you very much to you and to Benalmádena Town Hall for welcoming us here. Obviously, as you say, we're in a library surrounded by books, surrounded by knowledge. There's no better place to actually talk about education. So I would like to introduce you to our panelists this morning. Unfortunately, Amanda Palmer, the director of Laude San Pedro International College, was meant to be here, but unfortunately she's unable to join us. We have Gavin Palmer, who is the academic director of Sunnyview School in Torremolinos. Good morning, Gavin. Good morning. We have James Riley, who's the co-director of Phoenix College Malaga.
Good morning.
And Beata Froli, who is dean at the MIUC, the Marbella International University Centre.
Good morning.
So we've got representation of the whole spectrum of education from 2-year-olds right up to university. So we'll have a very varied look on the different points we're going to talk about. If we start with a brief introduction, so each of you can tell us a little bit about your centres to begin with. Do you want to start, Beata?
Yeah, so thank you. Right, so my name is Beata Frulich and I'm MIUC Dean, and we offer University of West London degrees in Marbella, and because we thought there is a need for international education in Marbella, and we do offer UG and PG programs, and our awarding body is University of West London, and also students were invited to join a semester abroad or visit our campus and study for a semester in London. So I think we have the best people in best place, so we are avoiding dreadful London weather.
Gavin?
Yeah, morning. So I'm Gavin Palmer. Academic director would be my title in Spanish, director académico, but in English we go with head teacher. So I'm the head teacher of Sunnyview School in Torremolinos. We're an international school. We follow the British curriculum, and we educate children from the ages of 2 years all the way up to 18 years of age. So from early years all the way through to sitting their A-levels, and we also put them through the Spanish curriculum as well, so they take the específicas as well, if necessary, for Spanish university entry.
James.
Okay, I'm James Riley, co-director of Phoenix College Malaga, and also teacher of history, geography and politics. We started Phoenix College Malaga in 2017. I think we're quite unique in Spain because we're run actually by teachers and owned by teachers. and myself and the other two co-directors, Alex and Kirsty, started the project and the school and the college in 2017. We opened our doors in 2018, and we are exclusively for students aged 16 and over, and we offer British A-levels, international A-levels with EdXL, and also the Spanish subjects as well, which allows students to go to Spanish universities, also the UK universities, and also European and international universities elsewhere. Also, being Phoenix College Malaga, we're based in the centre of Malaga, and therefore, obviously, we've seen Malaga change tremendously in the past few years. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, in this type of thing and everything with Syrian English, we mention the word international an awful lot, but that's what we have here on the Costa del Sol. So many different nationalities altogether. So all of your schools, I believe, have a whole range of different nationalities in your classrooms. So what are the advantages of studying in an international environment? And what do you feel the most exciting or effective learning environment would be, is the next thing. So would you like to start, Gavin?
Yeah, of course. I think the first advantage that really sticks out is what an education offers to students is it develops the learner in a way that's uniquely global. So by virtue of being in an environment where they're surrounded by students from lots of different nationalities, our students are exposed to lots of different world views, and that's from when they come in at 2 years old onwards, and that's quite a unique characteristic relative to, for example, in the national system. And I think with that, it necessarily provides challenges to students as well. And those challenges, for example, when they're exposed to cultural differences or linguistic differences, they help to really build resilience in the students as well, which is obviously a key aspect in terms of tussling with their education and then also looking to develop personally. And I think the final point that I would make on that would be about just it's quite a unique experience for all of the families concerned as well, because they're united by the fact in a lot of cases that they're existing and living in a culture that is different to their own. So that is a unifying factor in creating a community that really is quite tight-knit and something quite special. And even for example, Spanish students who come into our school, there's still that unification of the fact that all of the students are being educated in English as opposed to in the language of Spanish, which exists outside of our school. So those would really be the two advantages or the three advantages that I would draw upon as far as international education is concerned. So the global mindedness that develops in the students, the resilience, and also that special tight-knit community that comes with it.
Okay, Beata?
Yeah, just to build up on what Kevin said. So yes, we are international. We have about 97 different nationalities. And if we have to summarize, I think the biggest advantage is we foster global awareness, adaptability, and cross-cultural communication. So I think those are essential skills in today's interconnected world. So academic background is really important. And then I think we're building the network, or global network, if you will, of professionals, because we are career university, so we are offering those career opportunities worldwide, if you will. And also your question about what's the most effective learning environment, right? So I think it's the one which we try to foster, which is interactive, student-centered, and career-oriented, if you will.
Okay. Jake?
Yeah, I think just building on exactly what the two colleagues just spoken about there, which were excellent points they made. Obviously, there's lots of opportunities to teach, for students, to be in an international setting. Most of our students, when they are leaving for university or the world of work, will be going towards Europe or also to the UK. So it enables them to access that future learning. Secondly, I would say that also, obviously, English is still the main second language in the world. Okay, so if you're going to go and travel anywhere in the world or work anywhere in the world, you need to speak English. And of course, what both of them were saying was that if we have an international setting, you're getting students mixing with each other, which is what we've seen to change dramatically, what we've seen along the coast here, but especially in Malaga recently, is that you see Malaga change dramatically. Malaga now is an international centre, it's an international hub, and also it's building those links as well in Malaga because we're centred right in the centre, the historic centre of Malaga. And you've got now the Malaga Tech Valley, and you've got international businesses coming in like Google, which is on the ports, but also you're getting a lot of investments in the Guadalajara Valley, which is the Malaga Tech Valley, and therefore you're getting a change amongst the clientele that are coming towards the students, the parents, but also the businesses in Malaga as well. And therefore having an international education is very attractive to the students and for the parents and guardians who want to send the students to our schools.
Okay, I don't know whether anybody wants to add anything else about the learning environment, or we'll move on to the next point.
I'd just say that I think an effective learning environment that is also exciting, they're two necessities as far as creating the classroom culture and the wider school culture are concerned. And I think it's particularly important that we look to embrace advances in technology, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later. But with that, also looking to give our students the opportunity to demonstrate their learning in real-world contexts and to have that opportunity to apply themselves. So, for example, recently, our business students have been working on a pitch, kind of Dragon's Den style, where they have to devise their idea and then pitch to would-be bidders to be able to then secure investment for their products. And I think that application is really important in supplementing the learning that's going on in the classroom and ensuring that actually students see the real-world relevance of what they're learning beyond the four walls of the classroom where they do a lot of their learning.
Okay. If you like, we'll move on to the next question. Do you feel that the current way we're educating young people fully prepares them for the needs of the 21st century? We also said we would talk a little bit later about artificial intelligence, which we can probably bring in directly after this question because it's obviously all related. Beata?
I think we are trying to, because we are very small university center. We have only about 200 students. That's why we can't afford to be teaching using dated methodologies, if you will. We really offer personalized learning environment, and there's also this debate where students want to get practice, not necessarily the theory. However, I think I'm slightly old-fashioned, and I think we have to guarantee or to ensure that they get this solid theoretical foundation, right? However, there's a need for more dynamic and future-oriented education. That's why we prize ourselves as Korea University, saying that, well, we don't ask for any memorizing going on. We don't have or try to avoid any exam settings, for instance, in level 3 or level 4 altogether. We adopted problem-solving approach, or if you will, our assessment designed in a way where we can ensure, of course it relates to AI, we have to ensure that we're not teaching what AI is better at, right? But what we try to teach, we're trying to teach creativity, critical thinking, right? A curiosity, if you will. And that's why I believe that we're trying to do a great job in a sense. We're not losing the fear. They have to know, even if they say, well, ChatGPT could get me all those answers. I say, well, imagine ChatGPT doesn't work, right? And then along the same lines, we're also trying to make sure that we master AI in a sense that, well, we're not prohibiting using that, but we're trying to teach which AI cannot do, or we're trying to teach skills which are necessary to manage AI in a certain ways, right, that actually are beneficial for our students, right? So we're trying to combine this theoretical and practical approach.
Okay, James.
Yeah, I think there's some very good points made there by Beata, and that's obviously with technology.
No.
Yeah. Okay. We're constantly having to adapt education to the technology. Okay, is that better? Okay, just to say that we're constantly having to adapt education to technology. If you think about the 1970s and when personalized calculators were coming in, there was a massive change in technology with how mathematics and how the methodology of teaching was. And I remember when I was teaching back in Manchester in the state education, a huge amount of funding came in the late 1990s with the New Labour and Tony Blair, and huge technology, IT suites were built in the school that I was teaching in. And we were able to go in there, and I remember saying, okay, what do I do with this? How do I do research? And the lady was saying, okay, you should use Google. Now, Google only started in 1998. What it gave you was a huge amount of access to information. The skill was to be able to access that information and then say, okay, critically evaluate it and say, can I trust this information? Is it telling me lies? And these are the skills that we inculcate all the time when we are teaching humanities subjects, science subjects. Obviously, science is down to peer review. The humanities subjects, you're always thinking about critically evaluating sources and evidence. And therefore, you're taking the evidence and saying, okay, how can I evaluate that? And it's the same with AI, because AI, in a way, you don't want AI to outsource learning. You don't want to be outsourcing people's intelligence. You want the people to be able to use AI in order so that they can improve their learning. Obviously, AI can be used in a way to do a lot of the administrative tasks. So secretaries, teachers, it's going to be taking a lot of that type of the roles away from them, which means they will have more time to give to education and to the personalized learning. And therefore, the AI enables them to maybe utilize it. We're already using it to a certain extent in humanities. You can look at the argument and then build upon that. Okay, and obviously it's something that obviously we have to deal with, okay, but I would say both of the two colleagues here saying with the critical evaluation is very, very important with AI, and that we keep on working in order to make sure that we are able to adapt it to our education.
Okay, Gavin.
Yeah, I think what James and Beata said about technology, when it comes to that question of whether or not we're fully preparing students for the 21st century, I think my answer is always going to be to an extent, because of what you've both said there about technology. It's advancing at such a pace that as educators, for us to be able to assimilate new advances and then scale that out in terms of distribution to our teams of teachers and staff in schools, necessarily it's going to be really hard to keep up with that. So I think the answer is always going to be to an extent, but I think there are some staples that are always going to be there, such as Beata mentioned about getting our students to foster creativity. I think that's there, and that comes through getting students to collaborate together, offering them opportunities to work with one another, to communicate effectively, teaching what can often be referred to as those softer skills to then supplement the academic education that they're receiving. And I think the other staple that I'd put alongside that would just be pupil well-being and making sure that students are prepared in terms of their levels of self-awareness as they move into, a fast-moving society in numerous different contexts, given the nature of us working in educational in international schools. So I think that well-being aspect is really important as well, making sure we've got a strong pastoral care system to support that, which I know we're going to talk about a bit later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does anyone want to mention anything else about preparing students for the 21st century in artificial intelligence? Or?
Yeah, I just want to mention one more thing, which is like the polarization of ideas, because what we're seeing with the internet at the moment, and also what you might get more with AI is that polarization, and that's where education can come in to allow students to see that there's far more nuance when you're looking at the ideas and being able to make sure that the students are able to come to conclusions and come to consensus. So it's actually building bridges, and it's exactly what my colleagues were saying there about teamwork and people working together. Okay.
Okay.
I think, are we going to talk about AI? Or?
Yes, if you... Yes.
I think AI is a really interesting one from the student-facing perspective, and from the teacher-facing perspective, because we're well aware of everything that AI can offer, and I think the onus is on us, on educators, to really think about how we manage the messaging to students when it comes to using AI in ways that are ethical, but also in ways that are safe. And I think that's something that we really need to be working on in schools at the moment. And I think, for example, taking ourselves as an example, one of our big strategy points for next year is to actually look at developing a more robust system and means of evaluating how appropriate and effective a particular AI tool is before we then implement that in our classrooms to enrich our teaching. And I think the other thing that AI brings, actually, which is a positive for teachers, is it fast-tracks a lot of the initial legwork when it can come to planning a lesson. So, for example, it can give you ideas of what you could use in your lesson, but I will say that it's never going to be in the place of a teacher, because I don't think you can replace that knowledge that a teacher has of their students. But I think what it can do is free up time so that teachers spend more time thinking about how they're going to explain a particular concept or how they're going to approach a particular misconception that might occur, as opposed to then spending lots of time thinking about perhaps the ideas or the specific activities they're going to use. So I think there's big gains to be made there in terms of teachers and their workload, so that students have a much better experience when it comes to the classroom and their learning.
Also on AI, if I may, I think I've never seen so much time or headlines in UK newspapers dedicated to technology and education. What I've seen after 2022, the year when ChatGPT actually was made available to public, right? There were such headlines as, "We are becoming cheater chasers, and it's going to replace universities," and etc. So I think attention which technology and education got in the press was actually impressive. And our approach to that is we're not prohibiting the use of AI. So we do have software to detect the use of AI. I know they can say, well, it's not 100% bulletproof, right? But for instance, there are tools detecting AI. We don't prohibit use of it. What we developed actually a lighting system where actually we're saying, well, for particular task, we encourage to use AI, proofreading, if you will. Then, so traffic light system, if you will, and then, for instance, there's a red light saying, well, you can't use single prompt, generate content, etc. So I think there's an approach what we say, well, we can't actually ignore its existence. I don't think it's wise. We give even to our students free access to paid AI software, because we think they have to learn how to use it, right? We do run workshops, for instance, on how to use Synthesia or Gamma effectively. We're also training our lecturers. So all in all, I think we have to be in line with realities, if you will. So in a sense that, well, I don't think it's going to eliminate lectures, because also I think people fear what they don't know. So all in all, I think it's a tool which actually could help education if managed properly. That's why I say, well, yes. So we have to create guidelines how to use it. So we have a lighting system, if you will, so students do know when they can use it. We adopted also, we are trying also constantly working on our assessments, right? So for instance, group projects, or also we came back to and using more oral assessments, right, if you will. And then, yes, we're training both students and actually our staff of how to use it effectively. As what colleague said, then as staff ourselves, we have more time for offline contact with our students when all this paperwork is done. So I think it's a win-win situation if managed properly. And no, we don't think AI will replace lectures, but also think, well, there's no need to compete with something they are good at. Look, they're never tired, right, and they generate plenty of content. What they cannot do, as I say, they cannot critically think, right, they cannot create, etc. It's a combination of both.
Okay. So if we move on to the next point, which is probably the worst point for students in schools, the testing. Exams are or can be terrible, daunting things. However, every school has to, at the end of the day, come up with a list of, if you like, numbers and letters after people's names, even if it's just to put people in order so that they get access to places, jobs, whatever. Do you think standardized testing is the most effective way to judge learning? Should assessment be more individualized? Gavin?
It's a really good question. I think, so standardized testing has its place. There can be no questions over that, because what it offers is an insight into how students are performing comparatively across a given cohort or across a given subject area. So it's a necessity in terms of the education of today's age, and it can give us really useful insights for forward planning when it comes to our teaching and our learning in the classrooms. However, I think it's less a question of considering standardized testing as being, the most effective or necessary. We need to conceive of assessment as a combination of different assessment methods. So, like I said, standardized assessments have their place, but I think what's really important is the formative assessment that's going on inside of classrooms. And by that, I mean, for example, making sure that our teachers are asking really incisive questions to make sure our students understand what's going on in the classroom, or they're questioning to ensure that a particular misconception's being understood, peer assessment in classrooms, giving student live feedback on written work or spoken work they're being produced. I think that low stakes, informal, formative assessment that can take place in the classroom can add just as much value as what can come out of standardized testing. And I think it's key in terms of thinking about our students' well-being and striking that balance so that students, over the course of their educational career, they become prepared and ready to sit those formal exams that they're going to have when they do their IGCSEs or their IA levels in our cases. But by the same token, not allowing assessment to turn into just a real stress-inducing experience for our students. And I think we do that by strategizing when standardized assessments are used, and then making the most of the tools at our disposal when we're in the classroom and we're teaching our students. I think that's what we're really looking to harness at Sunny View School anyway, in terms of our assessment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, James?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Gavin was saying there. Obviously, we're a sixth form college, so all the students are looking to do international A-levels and A-levels, and also the exams with UNED at the end of, in January, May. And obviously, the thing about exams is it's based on a meritocracy, which means that it's not marked by the teacher, it's marked by somebody else, and it is showing where their level is. And therefore, it is something where the students are allowed to show their learning. And therefore, no one really has come up with another way of showing how to show learning so far. But obviously, what Gavin was alluding to and talking about before is, formative assessments. Teachers always, the way we're taught and the way we're thinking is, we're always constantly trying to get the students to learn and we're assessing them in class and giving them guidance on their learning. And therefore, really, it's a question of saying to the students, look, they might come to us and they've not done so well at GCSE or at 16, whichever exams they've done. And we have to sometimes talk to them and say, look, this is going to be maybe your level, but this is actually something you can achieve. And therefore, it's about really giving students the opportunities to learn in the classroom. And I think that's the main thing, really, as educators we can do. The testing's there, obviously, but as you were saying, is that we are assessing them as we go along, always, okay? But inevitably, at the end of the day, we have to have the standardized testing, which is through exams, and those external exams are there. And most countries around the world, therefore, look at those and say, okay, those are the results, and therefore that's how the students will move on. However, we do have students who might not do so well, and then they move on, and they've learnt through the college, and they've learnt through education, and they have learnt in a different manner, and therefore the standardized testing isn't necessarily the best way for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Beata,
so
in a university situation.
Yes, so I just do feel that assessments being an integral part of education, right? However, in university environment, we're trying to change our assessment from major modification, and we're trying to actually figure out or to establish a comprehensive evaluation model. For instance, as mentioned before, in level 3 and 4, we don't do exams. We're trying to actually make sure that students don't have to sit through this stressful exam-like environment. So what we implemented instead, we do have case studies, presentations, research project, real-world problem solving. So we have actually a capacity to change those. I think we have a bit more freedom compared to high schools, if you will. And I also feel that assessment, we do formative assessment and summative as well. And students will come and say, well, what if I don't do formative assessment because it was not graded? I say, well, but you're missing out a lot because you're missing the possibility, like help me to help you. I want to provide you with feedback, right? So, and also I feel that assessments are necessary in a sense for us to see the progress of a student or progression of students, because it gives us some data to compare. For instance, when I look into progression, and I do see in that particular model related to, last semester we had some model related to numerical skills, and I've seen progression rate on another level is not as high as I would like it to be. So then I would just see, well, then potentially myself, I'm not doing so well in that classroom, so I have to see how I could address the need of students better, because they have to do the numbers. They have to know their numbers. So, and that is, at the end of the day, well, it gives us some data, right? What's happening, why the student haven't progressed, or they didn't get the grades which we expect them to get in that particular module. And it gives our possibility to address the issues. So for instance, I see numerical skills not doing so well, so then we introduce additional, we have connected calendar, which is, I don't like to call it extracurricular activities, nobody shows up, so we say additional, or if you want, formative for activities, where for instance we introduce financial boot camps to make sure that they learn the numbers, because they say, well, accounting is not so interesting, it's boring, etc. So basically, I just feel that yes, we have to simply to create comprehensive evaluation model, right, to make sure to take into consideration AI tools, and also to see what data it gives us, how we can improve and make sure the students actually succeed after the university and they are well prepared for real life. For real world, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Okay, does anybody want to add anything else about that topic? Or we can...
I'll add one more point, if that's okay. So we've spoken obviously about assessment largely in the purest sense of the word, but I think it's also, it's worth noting that assessment also can create opportunities to generate more creativity within students as well, and collaboration, as I mentioned earlier on. Particularly when I'm thinking now about, in early years and in the primary sections. And one example would be recently I was invited, actually, I was cordially invited as a guest to the Year 1 Picasso exhibition. And that was a really insightful way for me to see how effectively the students had learned over the course of a scheme of work, because not only were they really proud to show off their Picasso pieces that they'd produced, but they could talk to me about how they'd chosen different colours, how they'd made the different marks on their paintings, and by virtue of just having that conversation with them and walking around to different students, I could very quickly assess the extent to which the students had learned what it took to form a replica Picasso painting. So beyond the assessment in the quintessential way in which we interpret it, I think it can also provide opportunities to be more creative, as with that example there, and I think that's an important point to make.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll move on, shall we, to the next issue, which is the one that's always there alongside the teaching and the education, welfare, which is an issue, I think, across the spectrum from 2-year-olds right up to university students. Do you want to start on this one, James?
Yeah, I'll start there. Yeah, obviously with welfare, that's very, very paramount with the students. What we have is essentially, being a small school, we only have like a maximum of 12 students per class, but on average it's about 5 to 6 students. So essentially all the students we are looking at their individual needs all the time, and therefore we're able to give them that individual attention as educators. Plus that, we also have the tutor system where they are followed throughout the 2 years or sometimes 3 years at Phoenix College Malaga. And then also we have the PS, the personal social culture education classes and the program which the students follow. And then also, I think also very importantly, because we're quite a small school, almost like a family, the students are able to talk to the teachers, and also very importantly, the parents and guardians are able to come into the school, talk to us, and therefore our doors are always open, and therefore we're able to deal with that welfare and any sort of welfare issues in that way. Okay.
Okay. Gavin?
Like James has said, the PSHCE curriculum is an important part of that, and obviously being a school that has a British curriculum, we deliver that as well from 2 all the way up to 18 at Sunnyview School. And I think that's a really important part of the curriculum in terms of ensuring that students have age-appropriate content delivered to them that isn't necessarily going to be tied to a subject. So for example, responsible social media use, or maintaining a healthy diet, or looking after your mental health. So I think the pastoral curriculum, or the PSHCE RSE curriculum, plays an integral role there. I think in our particular school, the pastoral system is a key part of supporting the welfare of students. And I think the key part of the pastoral curriculum is making sure that students know that they have at least one trusted adult in terms of their form tutor or their class in secondary, or their class teacher in primary and early years. And then beyond that, they're aware of who the leaders are in the school, in the senior team, but also their key stage coordinators who look after sections of the school and are dedicated persons who deal with particular issues that might be prevalent across a number of students or for individual students, and alongside the safeguarding team who meet weekly as well to discuss more significant concerns that might arise. And I think the effective pastoral care is really fundamental to underpinning the academic success that comes with that. So I think that's really something that, I've pressed upon it there, but I think you can't understate the importance of the significance that plays in supporting students.
Mm-hmm. And Beata, your students are all adults, but
still well-being it's our top priority, if you will. So again, because we're a small institution, only we have about 200 students, so we proactively anticipate challenges, and we have a framework in place right? So we run something called induction weeks. So prior to official start of the classes, we have 2 weeks of induction where students actually introduced to the support service we offer. Because, right, as you know, students will say, I didn't read my email, etc., etc. So what we do is we invite them in campus, right, and have this induction week where we are, apart from course overview, I'm an academic dean, so I do the boring part, but we also say that apart from academic planning, we have support services. Each student is assigned personal tutor. It's a first point of contact. If you will. That person might not have answers to all the questions, but he could guide you who could get them those answers. Also, we do run a peer mentorship program where our students also could sign up for, because we think that we could learn a lot from each other, if you will. We also offer welfare services in terms of mental health support. We have counselors. Apart from that, we also have students' clubs or cultural events, Safe Hub, if you will, where students themselves also help other students to adapt into a new international learning environment. So I think all in all, it comes down to 360-degree support, if you will, where they know whom to contact, right, when they have an issue. And they say, well, how do you know I have an issue or a challenge? Right, also, we say we monitor and anticipate challenge where we have this particular guidelines or a system in place. For instance, we track attendance, we track participation, engagement. If we see there's a lack of engagement, so we have a checklist where we actually try and contact students, well, chase them, if you will, to see what's actually going on. Because without this support, we don't think they can actually excel in their academic life, if you will. So I think well-being is as important for adults as it's for students under 18.
Okay. Anything else to add on?
Yeah, I just want to add to that because there's some wonderful ideas there. And actually, I failed to add that, when the students, obviously, you're talking at 18 when the students are coming to you. And it's the same for us when students are coming to us at 16. We have to try to get the students to bond together and to work together and to be part of a team, which is Phoenix College Malaga. And obviously, when they're coming, what we do is we get the students together. We often take them on a residential, and Mr. Mitchell takes them to the mountains of Malaga. We also do trips abroad as well, which does create that bonding session and allows the students to sort of talk to each other and see each other outside the classroom and outside the school environment. And I think that's very important to enable the students to work together and therefore improve their welfare.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, we've been through the points that we were going to talk about, so if now I will give all three of you the chance to sum up, to tell us anything else you need to tell us about your schools. Gavin, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think in terms of plugging Sunnyview School, I think our prerogative is to make sure that students can achieve academic excellence, and by that, it's not necessarily referring to a run of A stars in international A-levels. Rather, excellence is defined as students being able to move on to the next steps and pursue the next path that they want to pursue as far as their desired career is concerned. And I'm talking now about the business end when they come to year 13, year 11. But at the same time, we want them to leave as well-rounded individuals who are able to thrive in this fast-paced society that we mentioned at the start of the conversation. And it would be remiss of me not to say that if you're watching and listening and it appeals to you, come and see us in action for yourselves.
Okay, Beata.
I think MIUC's core strength is actually personalized attention. So for us, students is not a number. We all know them by names, and I think our international faculty is really approachable, if you will. And I do think that we offer solid academic knowledge, and as well as exposure to real world. So we do have, our faculty consists of academics and also professional on campus. So I think this combination of this theory and practice going on, and also we pride ourselves to be a career university. So that is to say, we have a department which actually helps students to get a device for career placement, etc. And also, I think that we also have a very strong alumni society, if you will, which actually, as I say, study is important, so make the most of it, right? But I also believe that networking in international environment is as important as studies themselves, because it could generate ideas. And actually we have students who have startups, right, who established startups or actually after meeting somebody on campus. So I think we offer both education and also career prospects, or career success, or success in future world, if you will. Okay.
Okay, just would like to say thank you very much to both my colleagues here, because it's been a pleasure listening to them and listening to their ideas, because I think that's part of education as well, that you listen and you learn from other people, and you take home something from that, okay? And going back to that, it's Phoenix College Malaga. What we represent is obviously, it's a small college, 50 students. We have dedicated staff and individualized learning. And one of my favorite quotes, which I wanted to bring in before, it's in my classroom, is from Plato, which is the greatest danger to society is the suppression of critical thoughts, but it's also the greatest danger to the person. And that's really what we're trying to engender in the students, is to get them to think in that way. And as I bring another quote as well from Horace and Immanuel Kant, which is to dare to be wise. And that's really what we want the students to do. We want them to go out into the world. We see Phoenix as like a bridge between school and university, or the world of work, and to dare to be wise.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Gavin Palmer, head teacher of Sunnyview School in Torremolinos. Beata Froelich, who's the Dean at the Marbella International University Centre, and James Riley, co-director of Phoenix College Malaga. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much to Benalmádena Town Hall for having us, and to this magnificent library to opening its doors and letting us host our event here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.